Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Philip Radokic, a product manager and senior consultant here at CI Experts. Today, we'll be starting a short series that introduces you to the three basic modules of UPV Web Services. These modules will help you centralize your models, become independent from hardware or operating system requirements, and track issues, action points, and more. The three modules of UPV Web Services are UPV Browser, which we're going to have a look at today, browser-based viewing, and WorkFlowSystem. In today's session, we'll focus on the UPV browser and how it can simplify your daily work, streamline administration, and reduce costs in your company. Please note that this session will, as always, be recorded and we'll send you the link to the recording via email. During the webinar, feel free to use the GoToWebinar questions panel to ask questions, and I'll try to answer as many as possible after the session. If I'm unable to address your questions, or all of your questions during the webinar, I'll respond to you via email too. Now, let's take a look at today's agenda. So we'll have a short introduction to UPV Web Services in general, then the introduction to the UPV browser, and have a live demo of overview of the user interface, managing model metadata, and permission management. Okay, well, let's start with the introduction. First of all, what are the challenges in the daily work we have? So one is working with outdated models. So what are the risks? Working with local copies bears the risk of working with an outdated model. So always bear in mind you want to have a central repository somewhere where the model is updated. And that's the next challenge, making these models centrally available. So server shares, network drives, and similar can lead to security issues and can prove to be somewhat complicated at times. And even if you got that set up, how do you actually manage access to the models? So access is only possible by permissions for files and folders. And even so, next challenge is how do we actually do an authorization on various devices? So only Windows or Active Directory permissions would work. Mobile devices can have major troubles logging in and accessing these models. So what are the solutions? First of all, model always has the latest version on UPV browser. The fact is, even if you downloaded a model for local view, you get notified about a new version by UPV. And when I'm saying download, this is not downloading the model folder. It's basically downloading the model folder cache, and this cannot be mingled by users. Another problem when you grant, for example, permission to a file or folder, that users could possibly change some configuration files like the default config.upv or some of the Excel files or similar. Next thing about a solution is have all your models in a clean UI on a server. So you get a better overview, screenshots to see which model actually you want to open, and have additional metadata. Model visibility and access is easily managed. Have users see only models they have permissions for, and not just not being able to open models they're not allowed to, they won't even see them. And last but not least, easily integrate single sign-on systems that work across devices and operating systems. So for example, Windows, iOS, Android. And you can use your existing login systems and credentials to access models according to a permission following the OpenID Connect protocol. So what is the product pyramid and where is actually the UPV Web Services to be located at? You have, as most of you already have worked with UPV, you have the adapters, the builder that creates a model, you have UPV modules that can be activated within UPV, and you have the final model viewed in UPV itself, in UPV application. On top of that, the model generated by the builder can also be used up here in the UPV Web Services, and it's also 3 modules that build upon each other. So the basic module that we're going to talk about today is the UPV browser, followed by the next step, browser-based viewing, which requires the UPV browser, and the workflow system on top that requires both of them underneath. So what are the UPV Web Services? The UPV Web Services is a comprehensive term encompassing all CI expert services that rely on a web browser or web browser applications, leveraging a stack of interconnected applications that eliminate the need for local installations, at least from the medium level, including browser-based viewing. This approach allows for seamless accessibility, utilization of the services without the hassle of individual software installations. So the basic module is the UPV browser, and introducing the enhanced successor to our folder browser, as many of you probably have used it before, is now equipped with advanced security and administrative features powered by an identity server. This powerful tool functions as a distribution server, enabling seamless streaming or downloading for local UPV applications. The second module is the browser-based viewing. Building upon the UPV browser and identity server, this latest iteration extends its capabilities to enable UPV usage on any device with a web browser. So this can be a thin client, a Linux machine, Android, iOS, Windows, you name it, even on macOS, independent of the operating system, eliminating the need for a device setup or installation. To ensure smooth operation, a rendering server equipped with a graphic card is required. But instead of having high-end hardware for every single user, you have a concentrated high-end hardware just in one spot. And last but not least, the workflow system, WFS, excels at providing a centralized collaboration platform for example, design reviews or maintenance tasks or change orders, offering various features such as centralized commenting and task assignment. It enables efficient information exchange and facilitates discussions on issues within a broad team, promoting streamlined workflows and enhanced teamwork. So what does this actually look like live? I've loaded a demo site. Currently, I'm logged in as an administrator, but let me actually first show you the user point of view. And for this, let me log in as a user that's allowed for browser only, UPV browser only. So no browser-based viewing. And first thing you see, we have a very clean user interface, and we can choose by clicking on the image, on the preview image, or on the button to open the model locally, or I can download a cache copy. For the user, it's quite easy. You can just pick the model he wants to open. In this case, I'll just take single unit S3D, and once I click open locally, you see it opens up UPV and starts the model. In my local installation, so it's using the UPV API protocol. So what else can I do here? Now I have 7 models visible, but what if I actually wanted to have 70, 80, 100 models here, and I want to find the right one? There's an advanced search up here, so I can actually search for full, so it will give me full demo plant, or I could search for demo. It would give me the same result because demo is contained in the name. But further than that, I could also search for S3D, for example. Now it would give me plain S3D model and single unit S3D because S3D is contained in the name. But why did it actually turn out and show me full demo plant again? Well, it is because of these tags here. These tags enable me to actually add some buzzwords or keywords to search for and to easier find my proper model. So when I click on the eye or on the name itself, I actually get to the metadata detail screen where I have a description and can view all tags. Since the number of tags is not limited, maybe not all of them can be shown in the first landing page, but here would be able to see them all. But how do we actually enter this metadata here? For this, I need to be a user with not necessarily administrative access, but have a permission that's called UPV maintainer. For this, instead of using email and password, I'll now use my ADFS authentication, which is my Azure account. And you see it's automatically logging me in with my name. And here I can now also remove the filter and go into this metadata display again, but now I have an edit button. So here I can change the preview image. I can actually change the description. UWS standing for UPV Web Services, and adding, for example, E240 as a tag. And once I click submit, go back and run the search for E240, it will return all results containing this tag or having E240 in the name. Let me go back quickly to our browser only here. What else can we do with this? We can also switch between list and the tile view accordingly, and we can also add links here that will lead us to a certain page. For example, to Google search with a parameter, so it's already entering CI Experts as a search term. You have additional information here that can also be changed by the administrator. We'll come back to that a bit later. And also entering the email address of your IT department, the phone number, and similar. These folders, since these are not sorted in folders currently, you can turn on and off. But since we're going to actually have a look at the administrative tasks, let me switch to my account. So in browser-based viewing, I actually have folders here where I combine the models and thus can even create a more clean visualization or hierarchy of the models. This is done by just entering the according folders on the server, and this will be automatically applied to the UPV browser. So I've shown you how to manage these model metadata. Last modified and size is automatically generated. But what else can we do? Let me go to administration and the UI settings. And here you see I can enter an email address, an email alias. So not the email address will be shown, but a clean name, for example, phone number, and title, available CI Experts demo models, try it now. This is actually the title of our overview here. So you can even adapt this title, and using HTML, you could even add your logo there. So this text on the left here, the description, is edited in this window, and the links that I've shown you here can be entered with the display name and the URL behind the link, and easily added. For example, if I think I removed the other one. So let me add one, same Bing search, https //www.bing.com, hit submit, and here we go. We directly got the Bing search included. This way, your centralized server can also contain additional informations. You can have some links also in the flowing text leading to different portals within your organization and so on, giving you a very powerful and easy to use tool at hand for administration and navigation within your corporate network. But what about permissions? Well, we can have manually created users or users coming in through single sign-on system. The only prerequisite we have here is that your single sign-on system should support the OpenID Connect protocol, which is the case with almost all single sign-on systems that are on the market. And here you can also define if you use it as administrator or a UPV browser maintainer. So if you can change the preview images and metadata. Beyond that, we have user groups that can be also hierarchically organized. And a very interesting detail here, if I'm using a single sign-on system, and that single sign-on system, for example, has a certain group already predefined for the user, you can use this group from your single sign-on system, get the UID of that group, enter it here, and then in this case, if the user comes with this group UID, he will automatically be assigned this group in UPV Web Services. That way, you wouldn't have to assign groups to users individually every time they do first login, but you can predefine with what group membership they have access to which modules. And eventually, you have permissions. How do these work? Well, you get a tree with the folder structure of your models. So I'll turn off browser-based viewing. I have the local storage here where I have permission here for all groups. And the 7 models I showed you in my overview did not contain the oil rig because when I click on this one, it has explicitly removed the permission to view this. Let me delete this restriction. So now all one model webinars in UPV browser only have access to all rig. Let me relog in with my browser only user. And now you see the magic happen. We have 8 models visible now. I've shown you what happens when I click on open locally. Just to be complete and precise here, let's see what happens if I click on download. Again, UPV opens, the authentication starts, requests, am I actually allowed to view this? And UPV gets back the information for that and starts downloading the project here. And once the download is cached, it's directly opening the model, and we'll have a locally cached copy of the oil rig available here on our UPV. Permissions can be granted by group, by folder, so also including multiple models, but also restricted explicitly. So even if a folder above has allowed group A to view everything, I can even put a restriction on an individual model. So this has actually been a quick overview of what can be done just with the UPV browser, regardless of the browser-based viewing. The browser-based viewing we will be discussing in 2 weeks' time, starting today. So let's actually have a look at your questions now. Time for Q&A. Is it possible to provide access by volume as extended beyond battery limits is required for reference? Currently not. So we're not able, not even because UPV does not offer that feature, at least not yet, that we restrict access to a certain coordinate volume of the model. But what you can do is use the packaging features and use that in Builder to generate a model with a limited volume and just give access to that model to a different user group. It is very similar to what I've actually shown here. When you look at it in detail, the single unit S3D is just an excerpt of our plain S3D model, a full demo plant, by the way, that we have created with a volume package and then recreated it in Builder and added it, and now we can go ahead and give permissions to different users here. Hold on. So when I go to permissions, I could well go ahead and say, okay, for my S3D or plain S3D model, here I would actually go ahead and give permission, for example, to product managers, and to the plain S3D model, give the permission to webinars. And that way, these two different user groups would basically see different portions of the model here. Are the models created directly from S3D or from SPR view files? They're created from view files, but again, these view files can also be generated from S3D. So, but yes, nothing has changed about the creation of models for UPV. This is just putting additional services on top of the already created UPV models. Are there certain requirements? Well, I had a similar question this morning in the first webinar. Well, when it comes to hardware software, you need to have to use the UPV browser, a local, either portable or installed universal plant viewer. And for the server, there's no specific hardware requirements. We usually say if you have a dual core or better quad core CPU, maybe 16 gigs of RAM, this should absolutely be enough. And yes, you would have to have IIS with the web hosting bundle installed. And that's pretty much all of the requirements there are. If you want to be open to some future extensions, including browser-based viewing or WorkFlowSystem, we do recommend having SQL Server or SQL Express from Microsoft, but it's not necessarily required here. can the groups from our Active Directory be used for permission management? Generally, yes. This depends on how it is set up in your organization. As I mentioned, you can basically link the UIDs of your AD groups to UIDs of UPV groups, and that way get a connection between those two. Does UPV web service require a separate license? A yes and no. So if you're on our new concurrent user model, then it is not necessary. So with the 10 concurrent user package, the UPV web services, including UPV browser, browser-based viewing, and WorkFlowSystem, are included in the license. For older license types, it is required to obtain a separate license for the UPV browser or the browser-based viewing or WorkFlowSystem. We usually see this in packages of UPV Web Services Basic, which is the UPV browser, UPV Web Service Professional, which is UPV browser and browser-based viewing, and the UPV Web Services Advanced, which is the UPV browser, browser-based viewing, and WorkFlowSystem together. But as I said, if you're on the new concurrent user licensing system, this is all irrelevant since that's included in the all-over license. Okay, and how time flies when you're having fun. Time's pretty much over for today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. If you happen to have some additional questions, feel free to contact us also by email, and we'll be glad to help you out for that and for the issue or question at hand. This being said, thanks for your time, thanks for your attention, and have a great day. Goodbye.